This is today's business leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
All right, today I'm super excited. I have Preston Howard on with us today, and he's going to share a little bit about his entrepreneurial journey. It sounds like he's lived a lot of life so far in a few years, so thanks for being on today, Preston.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so the only scripted question is, when did you first realize that you were an entrepreneur?
So I was kind of raised in an entrepreneurial family, I guess you can say, before entrepreneur was kind of the word for it. My mother was kind of an interior designer. She started out as a designer, and her father was a builder. And so he was always, go the, regular route, do this. And so she was always kind of the nonconformist. So she started a lot of businesses, and she kind of had the hustle mentality. And when she met my dad, he was fifth generation furniture, and basically they had a furniture business. So both of them kind of came from backgrounds of being in business for themselves, for their families, being self-reliant on what they were doing. So I was just kind of raised in that household to where it was kind of the consistent hustle mentality. It was talking about degrees and college and things like that was never really discussed, though it was encouraged. But I was always like, well, why do I need to go to college and do all this if you didn't even do that? It was like you're doing pretty well for yourself. And it was, it wasn't so much kind of like the silver spoon type of thing, but it was like, the blood, sweat, and tears, like, 1 month is feast, the next is famine. So there wasn't really a process. There wasn't as much stuff out there as there is today as far as to really show that the entrepreneurial path. It was just hustle and grit and grind until you saw what was working and then kind of replicating that. So that's kind of what I grew up with, as far as just continuing to dabble in different hustles until, finding what worked, what didn't work. And so, yeah, just a really young age. When you hear about like entrepreneurs like Mark Cuban, selling trash bags door to door, I think my first one was like going door to door, just trying to get money. I don't know what exactly the vehicle I used. I think we had something with school, and it was like we had pamphlets. We were trying to raise money selling chocolates or something like that. And I don't know if what I did was the best thing and getting, side money from selling additional chocolates. But that, just anything you can think about, that was kind of like
awesome.
A way to pocket some money, whether it's flipping cell phones. Whatever it was, if there was something, an article about it, I tried it at one point or another.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, everybody, no matter, totally unplanned, anybody they talk to that has gotten anywhere as an entrepreneur that comes on the show here always started out as a kid selling something door to door or hustling. One of my little brothers, Cody, he flipped phones and flipped cars and computers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's just very good at making money, and probably because he's grown up around it all the time with me and with some other family members, so it makes sense. So that's kind of how you start out, like entrepreneurship, just as like second nature with your family and upbringing. Give us kind of the brief history of there to where you are today. And I'm 35. How old are you? Are you
23.
23. Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about kind of the path so far.
So as far as kind of up to where we're at and kind of going off of using kind of those hustles, that mentality that it was like, even when you would say it, somebody will, hey, what have you been up to? Oh, just hustling. It's like people would think it's like a joke, but like for real, that's what it was. And so it was like, to me, it was always kind of this self-dependence kind of self, like, I don't want to rely on someone else and try, I worked several different jobs. Growing up, I was like kind of like the busboy, I guess you would say, kind of like the waiter and stuff like that. I remember getting so nervous because I would forget the tables and but it was just, I knew that if I wasn't relying on myself and what I was doing, I couldn't perform to the best of my abilities. But even with that, before getting to that point, and kind of at first growing up, it was always kind of the financial security and the money mindset. So it wasn't so much about what can I provide to others? What can I help others with? It was me, me, me. How can I get this money? I didn't care really what it took to get it. It was like, how can I get it, and what are the ways to do that? And so really
Yeah.
before getting kind of into the internet marketing world and all the different stuff we are now, which kind of the way to get that, I'm pretty sure I typed in how to make money online. And I found like Black Hat World and all this different stuff. So I started learning about SEO and like all these different digital marketing stuff from a young age, but it hadn't come full circle. I was like, I'm kind of into this, but I don't really get it. And so that kind of started when I was um, probably about 14, 15, 16, something like kind of in that time range, but I didn't invest much time into it. I'd probably bought some websites here and there for $100 in the marketplace and all there and kind of messed around with it. But really it was, what could I do offline to make money? And so going down that, of course, going through high school and everything else, I made a lot of bad decisions as far as people that I was hanging around. I never really fit in with like the popular people, or I was kind of like the crowd out to the side that was kind of like not so much the outcast, but like those kids are weird as hell. It's like I don't really want to hang out with them, or the people. It was hard to relate to other people that were kind of like the normal.
Academically successful.
Yeah, exactly. School is not my forte. Um, but yeah, exactly. But from that kind of, and as far as kind of growing up and you're still developing and I mean, I'm still am, but it's, I was trying to figure things out. And so that led to a lot of different, experimenting with drugs and smoking weed and all this different stuff. And so it just kind of got me into a bad place, to where, I started doing stuff that wasn't great to try to make money in ways that weren't great. And so to me, it was like kind of cool because I was like I don't know if you're familiar with Memphis, but Memphis, Tennessee is kind of like you've got one end of the spectrum that's like is middle class, whatever you want to call it, and then right next door is like the slums. And so it's like I was growing up, but yet still had friends that were like bloods, drug dealers, the whole nine yards. And so it was like, oh man, you can do this and make money like this, go to the parties and boom boom. And so it was, to me, it was like, it was adventurous, it was cool, and it was still providing an income. And so I just got to a pretty bad place to where I was just doing a lot of stupid stuff, was not in the right mindset. Ended up moving out to, and this is kind of like during high school, kind of with college and things like that, I was almost kind of living like a double life. But ended up going into college, dropping out of college after my first semester. And then I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do. Because I remember sitting in the dorm room and it's like, I have homework, but I was also trying to figure out a business to start. And so I was like, I knew I couldn't do both, still not in the right mindset, may I add, but ended up moving to Colorado when they had legalized weed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the Mecca. This is where I need to go and move to.
Yeah.
And of course I was stoned most of the time. I wasn't thinking clearly. And so going out there, and then I was doing a bunch of, just still in the mindset of the hustle, but it was just, I was stupid. And so I ended up getting in a lot of trouble over there. And kind of had to go through this kind of reconstruction period of like, hey, I'm doing a lot of stupid stuff. This is not going to make me successful. I've got to kind of get realigned. And so that's kind of like when I said with the title, Rolling with the Punches, I had gotten into a boxing gym over in Kansas City, was where I was having to do kind of a probational period for everything. And so I got clean, sobered up, and really kind of had to figure things out again. The entrepreneur side wasn't gone for me, but I knew that things had to be different. And so it was like, I was always kind of a wimp growing up, but being involved with boxing and things like that, the structure element, everything like that. I'd wrestled in high school, but I never took it seriously. But this had really allowed me to kind of get my bearings back again, and really kind of get my eyes set that I still wanted to do this, but what was going to be the process? So like I worked for, a little cleaning company there in Kansas. I worked for a boxing gym, and I still knew that, this wasn't what I wanted to do, working two jobs, looking down on, as a cleaner, with these guys who were running their own business, and his side business was running a DJ company on the side. And I was like, man, I know I can do so much more than what I'm doing now. But what did that look like? So coming out of that, I finished up kind of that period. moved back to Memphis, and basically saw how much more developed that the internet marketing side was. And so I kind of revisited that money making online type thing, and started learning more about SEO, digital marketing, email marketing, all those kind of intricacies behind that. But I was still very physical as far as I needed some sort of human to human interaction. So that's when I found a course. I think it was like Painters Pro or something like that. And my family had experience with paint and things like that. I was like, okay, well, this can't be that hard. So I downloaded this course, figured out, I had a sales background selling for my parents at trade shows and all this different stuff. So I knew how to sell. I knew how to talk to someone about a product, move them into closing, so on and so forth. So I learned basically how to run a paint crew, how to get contractors to work with you and different things like that. And so I started a painting company. But I was still kind of in this, as a business owner, and I'm sure as far as the main thing that we're supposed to do is provide to other people. That's the main reason why business owners are successful most of the time anyway. But it was still the money. How quick could we get in, finish a job, get out, go to the next one? And so it was pretty successful. We were doing probably about 16,000 a month between me and my cousin, who was kind of my project manager. I brought him on board, which is, yeah, you got to be careful when you're doing with family, a lot of the time. But right, yeah. But ended up being we were pretty successful. We used like thumbtack and lead generation strategies online, and so we were doing pretty well. The branding was okay, but then stuff started kind of add up. We didn't really dig down and pay attention to the details that we should have. And so, we didn't have the proper licensing that we needed to have. We kind of had just the bare minimum liability insurance. But when we started getting up to the jobs over $3,000 to where we were, we had to have a certain licensing for that. We didn't have that. And so we kind of got a backlash from a few clients that screwed us out of stuff. Whether that was, they didn't like some of the work, or, whatever that was, like, oh, we're not paying you. And so eventually that kind of just led to like a downhill spiral as far as where a lot of the workers weren't showing up, and it was more the babysitter and trying to getting stuff done. So I was like, okay, this isn't working. And we're still actually dealing, with someone from then as far as, trying to collect, and we're still dealing with a lawsuit with another person right now. But eventually, so that again, it went to the point where it wasn't making money. So I say, okay, what's next? Revisiting the digital marketing, revisiting all that. And so we kind of started working from, and I say I met my business partner currently, Daniel Pope, who's kind of like our technical, very analytical superstar Facebook ad guru, helps build out our funnels and things like that, our marketing campaigns. That we kind of grew up in as similar circumstances. Our friend group were kind of the hustlers, and he had kind of had a similar scenario to me, and he had come out of it to where we found each other. We're like, well, we need to start a business. We know we both have previous backgrounds. We both have this, this experience. Let's do something together. We make a great team. And so we ended up doing a social media thing for businesses. We try to help them with their social media. Well, that didn't work out too well. People wanted to see instant return. They wanted to get money back out real quick. And so we're like, all right, we need something different. So as we continue to kind of work with new clients, we figured out about ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson and all these guys. And so we're like, oh, wow, we can build a funnel and instantly start generating revenue. And so it was like, and this is probably 2 years ago now, as far as we started putting together kind of our experience and our knowledge. So that's kind of full circle. As far as kind of where we are today, as far as running the marketing company, kind of building campaigns out for people. And we're really starting to get more specific now with what we're doing. So, I mean, I think probably our best month was we did about 20,000, but it could be anywhere from 8 to 20 as far as it's still, we're really zoning in on our processes and getting systems in place, because before it was like still in feast and famine mode. I'd be cold calling 50, I don't even know how many people a day. And I was just like, there's no way I can do this and then also sustain the company. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we're at now. But we're enjoying it. We just got back from Funnel Hacking Live in Orlando, which was a ton of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot, but
Very cool. So I'm super curious. You have figured it out like 10 years faster than I did. My first 10 years of entrepreneurship, I was an idiot. I was learning, but I was an idiot. And then the second 10 years, like I really started to figure it out. And you have such a maturity in your thought process and in how you're approaching things, and not completely unusually, but I think at a little bit of a warp speed compared to a lot of stories I hear. You did some stupid, things. We all do that. But then you very quickly identified it and identified the good and bad out of that experience, and quickly converted and tried another model with the painting. And then you quickly converted and pivoted again into what you're doing now. And you've stacked the value that you've gotten out of all the experiences, and they sound like they've all been positive for you end of the day. I mean,
at the time, they definitely did not seem positive. There was
obviously they didn't feel good. A lot of that does not feel like good. I know, I've been in those moments, but in the way that you're sharing your experiences today and the way that you communicate and the way you think, clearly, in my opinion anyway, all of that was very positive for you. I know in the moment it sucked.
Sure.
But like I said, I guess my question is, you have a very mature mindset for being your age. So what is it? Is it the adversity that got you there, or are there other keys of how you now handle yourself? Because you act like you're my age, and I never thought I would say something like that until I got into my mid 30s. I'll be 36 this year. It's a weird thing to hear myself say, but it is true. Like, you're different in your 30s than you are in your 20s. But you have accelerated that, and I'm just curious if you know why that is, or if it's just the way you are.
I would definitely say experiences probably have a lot to do with it, as far as, just kind of giving that kind of surface, that 10,000 foot overview of everything I said. A lot of the soul searching, a lot of the depression, a lot of the, I was living out of hotel rooms. I mean, so there was a lot of stuff that was kind of a culmination of, like, because I was very kind of introspective, as far as to where I was always trying to think, why am I here? Why am I going through this right now? What? And I'll definitely have to give it a lot of credit too, because even my mom has been a huge mentor, like with her businesses and what she's running, and then other mentors that have been a part of my life that have kind of helped kind of guide me, and then just kind of my faith and everything else. And so just continuing to ask for wisdom and try to figure out. So, I mean, a lot of it, I guess, would be introspective, but then also kind of, as far as saying, rolling with the punches. It's like, how can I take this and not, because there have been a lot of times where a lot of other people, and I see it a lot with the people who are a part of my friend groups at the time, where they're still doing the stuff they're doing today. Like, I can literally get on, my Facebook and look at a guy who's still dealing the same drugs to the same people that he was 5 years ago. And so it was like, I continued to want to move forward. And so it's like, I never want to be in the same place. And so I would say a lot of it deals with the experiences, mentors, and then kind of having that future goal of, where you want to go, and trying to get to that point. As far as, so I try to set big goals as far as doing things like that. I don't know. I guess, is that a decent answer? I don't know.
No, that's great, man. That's perfect. You're very authentic. I appreciate it. And I just, I want to congratulate you. I mean, you've moved very quickly through a lot of tough stuff and learned a lot.
Appreciate that.
And you're going to be, by the time you get to where I'm at, you could be a millionaire, billionaire.
Thank you.
You're totally on the right track. And another big theme that you keep saying, and I want to point it out specifically in case people didn't hear it, is another big theme of why you're doing better today is because you actually are now focusing on providing real value to people and really serving your customers.
Absolutely.
Instead of just like quick trick painting, or, here's some weed or whatever. Like, it's not shallow. I can just hear in everything you're saying that you're actually trying to solve problems and serve people and help and give back. And when did that light bulb switch on for you? And then what was the impact?
Probably just really And I mean, I think it's almost kind of like a cliche. It's like, oh, business owners provide value. That's how you make money. So, it was kind of always there, but then really using that as the underlying, because I think even as business owners, it's like we have to think, one of the most important things a company is continuing to bring and generate revenue. But it's like, when you put money at the forefront a lot of the times, like that can lead to a distraction as far as you look past people, you look past the human connection, you look past the benefit. And so it's like, I think it's just being involved with the people that we've been involved with. And again, kind of the mentors that have been a part of my life and my business partner's life now. And especially with Russell Brunson and everything that he's doing with ClickFunnels, and that you see that it's like, when you're really helping, when you're really doing that, then it's almost like you don't have to think about the money. Like the money's almost secondhand at that point, because the joy and the that is kind of like that state of mind that you get into when you're genuinely helping somebody, that it's like they don't mind giving you money. It's like if you can help change somebody's life in a little bit or improve their business or whatever that is, and there's that genuine connection, then I think the money's going to come regardless. So I would probably say really just in the past year, we've really embraced kind of like that helpful place name. Originally when we started the company, my family was doing some stuff with Ace Hardware, the company Ace Hardware, as far as they were using some of their products were involved in their stores. And so we were like, well, we'll create a marketing company to help these product people inside of Ace Hardware be able to sell more online. And so that was where the name Helpful Place kind of came from. We might have kind of taken that a little bit from Ace, but when we really start to look at it, it's almost kind of funny where it's like, we really need to embrace this name. This needs to be our differentiator, to where it's like, we're not just another company. We want to truly help and provide value to the people that we work with. And so that almost kind of helped restructure. At first it was like, how many clients can we get? Let's get 25, 50, 100. And we're like, we're two people, we have some people, that's on our team, but it's like, there's no way you can manage 25 people in a team like that. You need a huge structure to support that. So it's like, we started going back down to just like 6 or 7 clients that we could truly invest in and like have those hour-long meetings with, to where it was like, they felt that type of thing. So that would probably be some of the biggest.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's definitely been an evolution for me personally. And over the last few years too, is that as soon as you can get some stability, then you have the ability to think a little bit beyond the day to day, and I know you relate to this because I slept on friends' couches and in my car and like that too. So like in those moments, it's difficult to think correctly, to be honest, because
Sure.
you're literally trying to stay warm and survive and eat. But when you can get past that with just a little bit of success, it's always exciting to then see somebody like you who really just gets it all of a sudden. Is like, oh, if I just provide value and give back and really serve my community, whatever size that is, then everything else just works. And one big realization I've had recently is that money is just a mirror of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more valuable I am, the more I help people, the more I serve, the more money flows my way. And it's and the more awful and ugly and mean people are, the less they have. End of the day, they will end up with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot. I mean, a lot of people talked about this at funnel hacking too, but it's just kind of, I really like the one guy, I'm not gonna remember his name now, that talked about how money is all spiritual. I thought that was really interesting.
Yes. Oh God, was it Myron?
Yeah.
Goldie? Yeah. No, I remember doing a little Facebook Live on that after. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that just kind of reinforced more of what I'm seeing. So it's just really cool to see you, embrace that and truly help people, because then the rest of it takes care of itself, right? It's like you need good business principles. You don't need to know how to price. Like you need the basics, but when you have the basics down and you just start really focusing on people, then I think it kind of just flows a lot easier.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So what, with helpful place marketing, like what type of clients are you guys looking for right now? What type of projects do you do? Obviously, which I think is absolutely the right path, you're focused on quality over quantity right now, which is awesome. But what kind of people do you feel like you guys can really serve in a unique way?
So when we kind of got into it again, once we discovered Russell and kind of what they were doing, we pretty much said, all right, ClickFunnels is going to be the backbone of our company and what we do as far as digital services. So at first we started out with anything and everything. We were doing lead generation for chiropractors. I think that was kind of the first thing that we really were big in. We were actually working with another SEO agency that we were kind of getting a lot of his clients and providing that to. But then it just kind of came back to what is our end goal and what we wanted to do. Because again, serving, when you serve everybody, you get nobody kind of at the end of the day. And so, we still work doing lead generation for people who are, referrals to us, or if we have people that it's like, okay, we can really do this, but we try to really focus on kind of our ideal customer. And again, we're just now really starting to shape more towards that. But some of our really big clients right now are kind of in the e-commerce, physical product space, digital product space. So we're kind of solely focusing and are trying to solely focus. We still have people that we're working with that have a little bit more than that as far as lead generation. But as far as focusing on physical product, digital product companies and creating marketing campaigns for them and really helping them kind of just increase their monthly revenue through those.
Awesome. Terrific. Cool. Well, as we kind of wrap things up, what kind of advice would you share with the audience? I mean, they're all entrepreneurs or folks who are trying to get into this, or business owners. What's one piece of advice that you think would really be helpful?
So yeah, kind of with the bases as far as rolling with the punches, or as far as, like, I can't remember what Rocky movie it was, but it was like, life's the one that punches the hardest. It doesn't matter, how hard you can hit. It matters how hard you can get hit and then keep going. So I think it's like for anybody, and especially business owners and entrepreneurs, it's like adversity. It's not like if you're going to deal with adversity, it's like, when are you going to deal with adversity? And so like continuing to be prepared for that and know that when it comes, that it's like, there's light at the end of the tunnel type of thing. Cause I can't tell you how many times like I've been in such like a depressed funk at times. And I just have to continue to remind myself of that, to that it's like, just keep going, just keep going. And then probably as well as just like, try to have focus because like I'm so ADD and ADHD, and it's like, and especially in the world that we live in, it's like an ADHD, ADD society. So it's like being able to find when you can really focus and get stuff done, kind of are my biggest things for myself right now that I'm dealing with.
Awesome. I think that's fantastic advice. Well, thank you so much for being on, Preston. I'd love to have you back in a few months and kind of check in and see where things are at. I feel like your story is really on point. And again, I just want to congratulate you. You've moved very quickly and you're doing the right things a decade before I even knew what the right thing was. So, I mean, that's awesome. It's really encouraging to see that. So
thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate being able to be on here.
Cool. So if you want to get a hold of Preston and work with his team or check out what they're doing, you can find him on Facebook or go to helpfulplacemarketing.com, and I'll put that in the show notes for everybody. As always, if you like this, everybody watching, give us some feedback, comment on the post, or give us a rating on iTunes or wherever you found us, or say something on Facebook. That'd be awesome. Appreciate all you guys as listeners, and thanks for being on today, Preston. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.